Hi YouTube, welcome back. We are doing part 2 of SHTF on the road. Andre did part 1 in which he talked about the different types of things that you should have for your vehicle if you should find yourself stranded somewhere for between 24 to 48 hours. And we're going to do something for the inside of the truck. So these are your top 12 items that you should have with you on the inside of your vehicle for your own survival, for your own safety. One of the top things that you want to think about when you're on a road trip, if you're stranded and you break down, is water. Water is important. You can survive without food for 48 hours. You won't survive very well without water. So one of the most important things that you should have is some sort of water purification device. So this is one of them. Andre did a review on this specific product, and it's a great water bottle to use. This is a filter that you would use when you're actually just filtering water. This one is another type of filter, and it's a much more economical choice. It's called Life Straw, and we will have a product review on that. Works really well, but it's just precisely for when you are sucking the water, literally, using as a straw, right out of the stream. So that's product number 1. It doesn't necessarily have to be these ones, but some sort of water purification device is really important to have should you find yourself in an emergency situation.
That's right. Now the second item we're going to be talking about is, depending on the time of season, you may be stuck in the winter or any time that it's cooler weather. So something to stay warm if, say, you don't take any extra fuel or your vehicle runs out of fuel and you want to stay warm. I would recommend a blanket. This is the type that we carry. This is meant for a queen size bed. And this is 100% wool, so it's very warm and it's very heavy. So you're gonna retain a lot of body heat if you're under this, no matter what. So a blanket is your second go-to, I would say.
Something important to have. Even if it's summer and whatnot, and it's warmer temperatures, it might drop temperatures when it's colder. So for number 3 is actually something that's also super important, a medical kit. Now this has all manner of medical supplies in it. We've got gauze, band-aids, all sorts of stuff, splints. I think there's a few splints in here, as well as some other bandage type materials. That's something you definitely want to have. You don't know what or when something is going to happen to you, and if you're stranded for 24 to 48 hours, you want to make sure that you have something to cope for emergency situations until you can get yourself to a hospital or hopefully stitch yourself up whenever that happens to be.
That's right.
But a medical kit is something that's also number 3. That's really important to have.
Yeah, one thing I would recommend tossing into your medical kit that this one didn't come with is a tourniquet, just in case you get a big cut or a laceration that you need to stop the bleeding. Tossing a tourniquet into this. These are also great because when you're looking at them, you can do 7 people for up to 14 days. So for the 2 of us, this is plenty.
Good for a long time.
That's right. The fourth item we'd like to talk about is flashlights. Now, if you're broken down on the side of the road, you might want to do some repairs. If it's dark at night and you need to change a tire, do some engine repairs, I would recommend a headlamp. That way you can just strap it to your head and kind of start working on what you need to work on, without having a third arm to hold another flashlight. Now, say you're not repairing something and you're going to start hiking it and it's dark, or you're going to start going to forage for food, or you're going to start looking for some wood or something and it's dark out there, I would recommend a bigger flashlight such as this one here. These are all rechargeables, so you don't have to worry about battery replacement. You just make sure they're fully charged before your trip. The reason I like this one here as opposed to this one is just because this one's a lot brighter. This one here puts out about 1200 lumens, where this one here puts out 90,000 lumens. So if you're hiking down the side of the road, this one can go a very long distance. So if you have any cars coming around the bend, they will see this light, and where they won't see this light. And it's also very well built, so if you need it as a weapon, it's another a good
improvisation.
Improvise, that's right.
Improvisation is key. So the one of the next items that we want to chat about is a screwdriver. Now this is not your typical screwdriver. It is what is known as a 10-in-1 screwdriver. So it comes apart. It's got various different heads, various different sockets, and it's a very utilitarian tool when it comes to doing anything. If that means like having to fix your car with something, if that means having to fix a tool, whatever. This is something that is really important that you'd want to have, especially on the road. And it helps that this is such a complex one where it's got 10 different things that you can use for it. So your next thing, if you are stranded for 24 to 48 hours, you are eventually, depending on the weather, but you're eventually going to have to build some sort of fire. So a fire starter or some sort of lubricant or something to start a fire is definitely important. So that comes in a variety of different types. We've got your traditional lighter here. It's always a good idea to carry multiples of these, and just in case one backfires or one misfires. But your traditional lighter, or we have a fire starter here, which is known as a ferro starter. So
Ferro stick.
Ferro stick, thank you. It's a ferro stick. So this works through friction, and this is really useful because you're just depending on friction and on natural forces rather than on something like this, which is dependent on something that's inserted inside of it. Yeah. So something really important to have. Presumably, if you've broken down somewhere in the rural or remote areas, you will have all manner of access to wood, and you'll be able to chop some wood for yourself. But a fire starter of some sort is definitely a key thing to have, for sure.
Quick point, the reason you'd want a ferro stick as opposed to a lighter is say this gets dropped in the water, they don't start up right away. So if you get your lighter soaked, this is not going to work for a little bit until you dry it out. Where with a ferro stick is if you do drop it in water, it has no effect on it. You can just start a fire no matter what. The next item up would be, depending on where you are, usually when you're out in these areas here, it's remote or rural and you're not familiar with the area. So I would recommend that you bring an actual map with you. Now this is a back roads map and it gives you all the forestry roads, all the smaller roads that you wouldn't see on your bigger maps. So depending on where you are, say there's a roadblock, a washout, a big accident, and you want to find an alternate route, bring an actual map with you. I would not recommend a tablet or a cell phone or anything like that because say you don't have something to charge that device with, you can't operate that device and get access to your maps, where this here is going to be functional with or without a battery.
Which is useful when you if you don't have communication with
right.
anyone else. All right. So our next item, and this is particularly for me because the bugs seem to love me out here, is some sort of bug spray. We have off. We don't use it often. The bugs are not too bad right now. But if you are stuck in an emergency situation where you're going to have to be outside at all times of the day or at peak times or even at night when bugs are supposed to be most active, this is something you're definitely going to want to use is bug spray. So carrying some just in case is a good idea. As Andre says, better looking at it than for it, so it's better to have it and not need it than to not have it and you need it. So something that we consider very important on our list of things to bring.
That's right. The next item we're going to be talking about are knives. Now I carry two different types of knives. I carry a machete. So this one is, say if you want to go out and start hacking down some trees, or you want to make something with wood and you want to hack down bigger trees or limbs, this is great. So you can just basically it'll go through anything natural or organic, should I say, which is very nice. And then I also like to take a smaller stiff blade knife with me, just in case I need to make some kindling, sharpen a piece of wood, or make some sort of repair. You never know when you need a knife, so a knife is a very good item to have, or a couple knives.
Yeah, just in case one kind of malfunctions or you don't have the use of one, or yeah, better suited for one purpose than another.
That's right.
On the topic of knives, this is not exactly a knife, but this is a saw. So using a saw, and we do have other cutting tools as well, but using a saw would be really handy for when you are, let's say, cutting things that won't necessarily go through with a smaller knife or with a machete, just because you don't have that jagged blade that is here. Yeah. So always a good idea. As a side note, to make sure that you carry containers for your sharp knives and things like that. You'll notice Andre had the same thing for the machete as well as the other knife. You don't want an accident happening if you are stranded, so make sure that you've got some sort of secure device in order to hold your knives safe and secure so you're not cutting anything that you shouldn't be.
Exactly. You might ask, why would I be bringing this? If you've watched the first video, you're going to say, I had a chainsaw and an axe with me, so why would I want to bring this? This here is perfect for if you are going to grab your backpack and start hiking, and you're going to eventually need to get some trees down. You don't want to be carrying an axe or a chainsaw around, so this is a perfect solution for that scenario. The next item I'd like to talk about is gloves. So hand protection is always good to have, especially if you're dealing in colder climate and you're doing some repairs in the snow or something. Gloves are really a great item to have because you don't want frostbite or any hand injuries, because when you are broken down or anything like that, your hands are going to be one of your most useful tools out there.
Yeah. I'd caution on that note, don't just bring one pair of gloves, bring 2 pairs, because if something happens to one pair, then you have that backup pair just in case. So making sure that you have 2 appropriate pairs of gloves for working or for colder weather, whatever it might be, would be something that's appropriate, and probably something that is a good thing to pack as an extra case. So my last thing that I want to talk about on our list is food. Now, if you talk about food, we're not talking about things in terms of full cooked meals. The presumption is that if you're stranded somewhere, you'll hopefully be able to get help within 24 to 48 hours. You can survive without food for that long, but in order to keep your strength up and make sure that you're actually eating properly, you want to pack something that is able to be preserved, but also something that is nutritional for your body. So just as an example here, we have the trail mix, not your typical trail mix. This has almonds, bananas, pineapples, cranberries, and walnuts in it. So it's a trail mix of all kinds of things, but that's very high in protein. Definitely a good idea to bring something like that with you. Raisins would be another good thing, but you want to try to pack things that are not going to be that are going to go bad in a short period of time. You don't want something that's going to require short installation. Perishables, that's the word I'm looking for. You don't want to pack perishables. You want to pack something that you can store for a certain period of time. Yeah.
That's right. And I actually just thought of another idea, item that you'd want to take. So this is going to be your top 13 now, is communication. So depending on where you are, you may want to plan your trip, obviously, and not everywhere has cell phone service, such as our location. So from where we are here to the closest cell phone tower is about 3 hours away. So cell phones don't always work, so make sure you're always taking either a ham radio, a CB radio, which is not that important, but I actually found it helpful on our travels across country, because truckers still use them. So if there's an accident somewhere, you can talk to truckers. And for our area here, we use what is called a bush radio or a RR radio, and what they do is you can communicate to anyone within your province or your state that is on like a forestry road, and it's actually can pick up a good signal. I believe I can catch up to 30 to 35 kilometers on the one that I have here. So if you are stuck and you need to get help, you can get on the radios and reach out to someone in the vicinity.
Yeah, as long as they're on like your proper channel.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Super important. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Top 13 items, right?
Yes, absolutely. Anyways, hopefully you got some great information out of this. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.